بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين، واللعنة الدائمة الأبدية على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليكم my beloved ones ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, we are going to continue the manasik al-Hajj. Today we are going to just give an introduction about Hajj al-Ifrad. Hajj al-Ifrad means Hajj individual Hajj, or Hajj of the individual. Hajj al-Ifradi, Hajj Hajj done independent Hajj. That means it doesn't have Umrah with it. So we can just say independent Hajj and Umrah Hajj al-Tamattu, Hajj associated with Umrah. Okay, so this is Hajjul Ifrad. Ifrad means individual, independent. Independent is better than the word individual, so independent Hajj. And we are going to take a few rulings from these rulings which are in this chapter of Hajj al-Ifrad, 158 to 160. So we discussed that before. Hajj al-Ifrad, there are three types of Hajj. One for people living 80 kilometers away from Mecca, and other was those who live between Mecca and those who are away from Mecca, maximum 80 kilometers. All those in the range of Mecca and 80 kilometers, they have two other types of Hajj, which is called Hajj al-Ifrad, independent Hajj, or Hajj al-Qiran, Hajj associated with sacrifice. And Hajj al-Tamattu is Hajj associated with the Umrah. So we are going to now see the differences between Hajj al-Ifrad and Hajj al-Tamattu. Hajj al-Tamattu, we spoke an introduction about it. Now we are going to speak an introduction about Hajj al-Ifrad. So he says, Marra alayka. Previously it has been mentioned, أن حج التمتع يتألف من جزئين. Hajj al-Tamattu is composed of two parts. What are the two parts? Remember, the Prophet ﷺ said, دخلت العمرة في الحج, and he intertwines his fingers. That means Umrah and Hajj, they got together and they have become like one part. So دخلت العمرة في الحج. So the Prophet ﷺ made it one act. Obviously, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it. So huma, those two parts are Umratul Tamattu wal Hajj. Umrah of Tamattu and the Hajj of Tamattu, obviously. والجزء الأول منه متصل بالجزء الثاني. So the first part, which is Umrah, is connected with the second part. What does that mean? You cannot separate it. والعمرة تتقدم على الحج, and the Umrah precedes the Hajj. That means you cannot do Umrah al-Tamattu after the Hajj al-Tamattu. You have to do Umrah al-Tamattu before and then Hajj al-Tamattu, unless if there were some few exemptional cases like excuses, which, like for example, a woman, she got her period and she was not able to perform Umrah al-Tamattu before, like Tawaf and the things. So there are solutions, and one of the solutions presented is that she converts her Hajj to Umrah al-Tamattu, and to Hajj al-Tamattu, Umrah al-Tamattu to Ihram of Hajj al-Ifrad, and then she goes to Arafat performing Hajj al-Mufrad, Hajj al-Independent Hajj, Hajj al-Ifrad, and then after that she does Umrah Mufrada after the Hajj. But however, here, in normal cases, Umrah al-Tamattu, the Umrah must be done before. The Umrah must be done before the Hajj. Naam. وأما حج الإفراد, and as for Hajj al-Ifrad, independent Hajj, فهو عمل مستقل في نفسه. Hajj, it is independent by itself. Hajj al-Ifrad, it's not connected with Umrah. It doesn't have anything to do with Umrah. Yes, those people living there, as we mentioned, they have to do Umrah once in a lifetime, it's wajib, and once in a lifetime, if they are able to do Hajj, it's wajib, those who are living in that vicinity. But if they do Hajj, they don't have to do immediately before or after the Umrah. So it is وأما حج الإفراد فهو عمل مستقل في نفسه واجب مخيرا بينه وبين حج القران كما علمت على أهل مكة. He says, as you have, as it was mentioned before, as you know from before, that Hajj, the people living in Mecca or in the vicinity around Mecca, 80 kilometers of vicinity, their obligation is optional obligation. They can choose wajib mukhayyar, optional, either do Umrah mufrada, independent Umrah, or Hajj al-Qiran, Hajj al-Ifrad, independent Hajj, or Hajj al-Qiran, Hajj associated with sacrifice. Because Hajj al-Ifrad doesn't have sacrifice. Hajj al-Qiran, no, you have sacrifice, you take your sacrifice with you, associated with sacrifice. Hajj al-Tamattu', there is sacrifice. But in Hajj, those people of Makkah, they have two Hajj. One, Hajj al-Ifrad, no sacrifice is there. Hajj al-Qiran, you take your sacrifice with you, associate Qiran, yani associate, you have a qareen, that's your sacrifice, and associate with you. Yes. Okay, so this is people of Makkah, only people of Makkah? No. And those people, those whose house or whose residence is between Makkah and 80 kilometers from Makkah. ومن يكون الفاصل بين منزله وبين مكة أقل من 16 فرسخا, which is less than 16 farsakh. Okay, so we said farsakh is about 4.5 kilometers. So 2 farsakhs are 9. That means 9 kilometers, 2 farsakhs. So 16 farsakh. That means we have 16 farsakhs. So 2 farsakhs, that means 8. 8 multiplied by 9, that's about the distance which is between, which is 16 kilometers. Okay, so if you want precise, so we can calculate 5.5 kilometers is farsakh. Remember this, because in the rulings, in Minhaj, everywhere you see this word farsakh. So farsakh is 5.5 kilometers, 1 farsakh. Okay, 2 farsakh is 11 kilometers. About, these are not 100%, these are about. Okay, now we have 11 kilometers for 2 farsakh. 16, how many 8s are in 16? You have 2 8s. Okay, 2 8s are 16. So that means we are going to multiply 8 with 11. That brings us to about 88 kilometers. Like that. You can double check it. Okay. So 16 farsakh, that means we can also do here. We have this mullah calculator. We can call mullah calculator and do this. So 5.5 multiplied by 16, 88 kilometers. Okay. So when I say 80, it's about 80, because it's better to always use sound numbers to sit in the mind. So about 88 kilometers. Remember, when we have this 22 kilometers, okay, 44 kilometers, it's 8 farsakh, the distance of qasr and tamam. So when we are dealing with the qasr and tamam, when should a person do qasr? If a person intends to travel 8 farasakh, okay, and 8 farasakh is 22 kilometers. 8 farsakh, 22 kilometers. Okay, where did our thing go? So, oh yeah, so somebody is asking traveling. So what is the distance when you have to do qasr salat. The distance is, if you go long one way, it's 8 farsakh. What is 8 farsakh? 44 kilometers. Just multiply farsakh by 5.5 kilometers. 1 farsakh is 5.5. So 44. But then you say, okay, in the holy month of Ramadan, they tell us 22 kilometers. What's that? Yes. If you're planning to come back, then 22 going and 22 coming. 4 farsakh going and 4 farsakh coming back. You got it? So now we have, let's summarize this into 3 farsakhs. For Hajj, it is 16 farsakh, which is multiplied by 5.5, 88 kilometers. Good. Salat, if you're planning to travel one way, so when should you're not planning to come back, when should you start counting your distance? After the city limits. Okay, how much? 8 farsakh. And how much is 8 farsakh? 8 multiplied by 5.5, which is 44 kilometers. Straightforward. But if you're planning to come back, like in the holy month of Ramadan, they say, eat something and come back, then you divide this 44 into 2. 22 kilometers going, 22 kilometers coming. So 4 farsakh going, 4 farsakh coming. Okay, enough farsakh and enough mathematics and enough calculations for you. So this is what 16 farsakh is. If you want to be precise, 88 kilometers. If you want to just roughly, we say 80 kilometers, just to for the number to stay in our mind. So 88 kilometers, or about 80 kilometers. So these people, they are living between Makkah and wherever 88 kilometers from Makkah ends. This is the range of those people who have an option to do either Hajj al-Qiran or either Hajj al-Ifrad. Beyond this distance, beyond 16 farsakh, they are obligated to do Hajj al-Tamattu'. Hajj associated with Umrah, al-Tamattu'. So, وَفِيمَا إِذَا تَمَكَّنَ مِثْلُ هَذَا الْمُكَلَّفِ, if this mukallaf, مثل هذا المكلف, a person who is living in this vicinity, Makkah and 88 kilometers, من العمرة المفردة وجب عليه بنحو الاستقلال أيضا. So there are 2 wajibs, independent wajib. Hajj al-Ifrad, Umrah al-Mufrada. They are not connected with each other. If somebody is able to do Hajj al-Ifrad, he must do Hajj al-Ifrad, those who are living there. If he is not able to do Hajj al-Ifrad, but he is able to do Umrah al-Mufrada, he must do Umrah al-Mufrada. So if he did Umrah al-Mufrada, doesn't have anything to do with Hajj al-Ifrad. He has to do Hajj al-Ifrad independently, if he's capable. If he did Hajj al-Ifrad, then he doesn't have to do immediately, but he has to do as an independent wajib once in his lifetime. So there's no connection like Umrah al-Tamattu' and Hajj al-Tamattu'. These are 2 separate wajib, Hajj, Umrah al-Mufrada, Hajj al-Ifrad. So that's why I say, if somebody who is living in this vicinity is able to perform Umrah al-Mufrada, then it will be obligatory upon him as an independent obligation, not associated obligation. وَعَلَيْهِ, and based on that, فَإِذَا تَمَكَّنَ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمَا, if he was able to perform one of these 2, Umrah al-Mufrada or Hajj al-Ifrad, دُونَ الْآخَرِ, so he was able to perform one without the other, وَجَبَتْ عَلَيْهِ مَا يَتَمَكَّنْ مِنْهُ خَاصَّةً, then the obligatory one will be whatever was in his capacity, in his capability, only specifically. So if he is able to do Umrah, Umrah will become obligatory, Umrah Mufrada. If he is able to do Hajj al-Ifrad, then Hajj al-Ifrad will be obligatory upon him specifically. وإذا تمكن من أحدهما في زمان ومن الآخر في زمان آخر وجب عليه القيام بما تقتضيه وظيفته في كل وقت. Let's say it's at one time he was able to do Hajj al-Ifrad. Another time he was able to do Umrah Mufrada. خلاص. Whatever, whenever you are able to do, just do it. It's independent. If you're able to do the same year, that's fine. If you're able to do before, that's fine. After, that's fine. That is wajib upon you independently. This is wajib upon you independently. This Hajj is without Umrah. That Umrah is, this Umrah is without Hajj. So all these, this Umrah Mufrada, Hajj al-Ifrad, they don't have anything to do with each other. Okay. وَإِذَا تَمَكَّنَ مِنْهُمَا فِي وَقْتٍ وَاحِدٍ وَجَبَ عَلَيْهِ حِينَئِذٍ الْإِتْيَانُ بِهِمَا. And if he was able to perform both of them in one time, then it would be obligatory upon them, okay, upon the mukallaf, the one who's living in that vicinity, to perform both of them same time. Like he's able to do Umrah and he's able to do Hajj together. Okay, the question is, which one comes first? Obviously, 9th of Dhul Hajj, he cannot do Umrah Mufrada. 10th of Dhul Hajj, he cannot do Umrah Mufrada, especially if the time is short on 9th Dhul Hajj. So let's say eve of night, after Dhuhr, no Umrah Mufrada, no Umrah Tamattu, nothing. You have to be in Arafat. 11th, 12th. So obviously in the obligatory time of Hajj, where you have to be in certain place in Hajj, and you are in the ihram of Hajj, you cannot perform Umrah Mufrada. The only thing the question can come is, which should be first? In Umrah al-Tamattu must be first. But in Hajj al-Ifrad, some scholars, they said that والمشهور بين الفقهاء في هذه الصورة وجوب تقديم الحج على العمرة المفردة. Some scholars, they gave fatwa that Umrah Mufrada must be preceded. If both, you can do both of them in 1 year, do Umrah Mufrada before and then do Hajj al-Ifrad. Sayyid Sistani says, I do not have any strong evidence obligating Umrah Mufrada before Hajj al-Ifrad. However, I'm going to use precautionary measures. And that's why he says, وَهُوَ الْأَحْوَطِ. So, في هذه الصورة وجوب. So, let's go back to the sentence. وَإِذَا تَمَكَّنَ مِنْهُمَا فِي وَقْتٍ وَاحِدٍ. And if he was able to perform both of them in one time, وَجَبَ عَلَيْهِ حِينَئِذٍ. It would be obligatory upon him in that case. الْإِتْيَانُ بِهِمَا. Together he has to perform. How? We cannot bring together. One has to be before, one has to be after. So he says the popular opinion amongst the scholar is, in this case, to consider the precedence of Umrah al-Mufrada, the precedence of Hajj al-Ifrad over the Umrah al-Mufrada. ففي هذه الصورة وجوب تقديم الحج على العمرة المفردة. In this case, the Hajj al-Ifrad it is obligatory to perform Hajj al-Ifrad before Umrah Mufrada. So to precede Hajj over Umrah. وَهُوَ الْأَحْوَطُ وُجُوبًا. And that is the obligatory precaution, okay, to bring the Hajj before the Umrah. So comparing Hajj al-Ifrad with Hajj al-Tamattu. So he says that ruling number 158, Hajj al-Ifrad and Hajj al-Tamattu, they have a lot of common things, okay, similarity. So يشترك حج الإفراد مع حج التمتع في جميع أعماله. Every action done in Hajj al-Tamattu is done in Hajj al-Ifrad. Okay, so there are common أعمال ويفترق عنه في أمور. Hajj al-Ifrad differs from Hajj al-Tamattu in certain points. So All the amal. That means most of the amal are same, except for few. What are these few? He's going to mention. Number one, يعتبر في حج التمتع وقوع العمرة والحج في أشهر الحج في سنة واحدة كما مر ولا يعتبر ذلك في حج الإفراد. It is necessary, it is required in حج التمتع that the Umrah and the Hajj, they both happen in 1 year في سنة واحدة وفي أشهر الحج, in the months of Hajj, شوال ذي القعدة ذي الحج. You cannot perform عمرة التمتع before شوال. No, it has to be either شوال ذي القعدة ذي الحج. So this is the Umrah. Umrah of Hajj التمتع must be in 1 year, both of them together, and both of them should be in the month of Hajj. Unlike Hajj al-Ifrad. Hajj al-Ifrad, you can do Umrah any time in the year. You don't have to do it in the same year. You don't have to do in the Ashhur al-Hajj, the Umrah Mufrada of Hajj al-Ifrad. But it's not of Hajj al-Ifrad. It's independent. So you don't have to do Umrah and Hajj together when it is Hajj al-Ifrad, because it's both independent obligations for those who are able to do. ولا يعتبر ذلك في حج الإفراد, and such is not required in Hajj al-Ifrad. So both of them must be done, Umrah and Hajj, in Hajj al-Tamattu in the same year and in the months of Hajj, and such is not required in Hajj al-Ifrad. Number two, يجب النحر أو الذبح في حج التمتع. So you have to sacrifice the goat or hamstring the camel, sacrifice in Hajj al-Tamattu, as mentioned previously. ولا يعتبر شيء من ذلك في حج الإفراد. None of that, neither sacrificing, neither slaughtering, neither hamstringing, none of these two are required in Hajj al-Ifrad. But Hajj al-Tamattu, there needs to be sacrifice. Number two, الأحوط لزوما عدم تقديم الطواف والسعي على الوقوفين في حج التمتع. In Hajj al-Tamattu, you cannot precede the tawaf of Hajj. We're not talking about Umrah al-Tamattu. Umrah al-Tamattu is done. Now, if you perform the ihram of Hajj al-Tamattu, we said, where will we perform the ihram of Hajj al-Tamattu? From Makkah. So you entered the state of ihram. Remember, many people, they get confused in this ruling. I'm not talking about doing the tawaf and tawaf al-mustahab between after exiting the state of ihram of Umrah al-Tamattu and before entering the state of ihram of Hajj al-Tamattu. What I am talking here, what Sayyid Sistani Damadullah is mentioning here, is the period in between. No, when? Not between Umrah and Hajj. No, in period between ihram of Hajj. After you enter the state of ihram of Hajj, you cannot do the tawaf and the sa'i. Remember the sandwich we said? Tawaf of Hajj, 2 rakat tawaf of Hajj, sa'i between Safa and Marwa, and then tawaf al-Nisa and 2 rakat tawaf al-Nisa. He says tawaf and sa'i, that sandwich, that tawaf of Hajj and sa'i of Hajj, which is done after Mina, you cannot precede it before going Muzdalifah and Arafat. So he says, on the basis of obligatory precaution, عدم تقديم الطواف والسعي. One should not proceed with the tawaf and the sa'i between Safa and Marwa. على الوقوفين, precede the two stays of Hajj al-Tamattu. What are the 2 stays of Hajj al-Tamattu? Staying in Arafat and staying in Muzdalifah. إلا لعذر, unless if there was an excuse. كما سيأتي في المسألة 412, as it will be indicated, because you know there are some excuses. There are women, they are afraid that they might get into period and these kind of things, or some other excuses some people have, but most of the excuse is this: when women, they come for Hajj, so they have concerns. So this is where we will discuss in ruling number 412, how can the women deal with their circumstances. So here, unless if there was an excuse, as it will be. So, okay, so you cannot do tawaf of Hajj, You cannot do Salat al-Tawaf of Hajj. You cannot do Sa'i between Safa and Marwa before going to Arafat and Muzdalifah. After that, yes. But in Hajj al-Ifrad, you can. So unlike Hajj al-Ifrad, وَيَجُوزُ ذَلِكَ, and it is permissible to do the Tawaf of Hajj and the Sa'i of Hajj before going to Arafat. So, for example, for Hajj al-Ifrad, a person enters the state of Ihram, says Labbaik. Now he is in Makkah. He says, let me finish my Tawaf of Hajj. Let me finish my 2 rakat Tawaf of Hajj. Let me finish my Sa'i between Safa and Marwa. Good. Okay. In Hajj al-Ifrad, they can do independent Hajj. Let me do Tawaf and Nisa. Stop here. It's not mentioned here, but say this is Thani Damadullah in his Q&A. He has mentioned that Tawaf an-Nisa can be delayed after completing the Mina, because there's no sacrifice there in Mina. Okay, so after completing the Amal of Hajj al-Ifrad, he delays the Tawaf an-Nisa. However, Tawaf of Hajj and 2 rakat Tawaf of Hajj and Sa'i between Safa and Marwa in Hajj al-Ifrad, they can do it before the staying in Muzdalifah or staying in Arafat. Number 4, إن إحرام حج التمتع يكون بمكة. Remember, we came from far away, we entered Makkah, now we are in Makkah. We did Umrah al-Tamattu, we exited our state of Ihram. Now we're waiting for 8th Dhul Hajj or 9th Dhul Hajj. Okay, now in this case, during this case, we don't have any Ihram. Then on the 8th of Dhul Hajj or 9th of Dhul Hajj, we enter the state of Ihram. For what? To perform the Amal of Hajj al-Tamattu. Okay, so where should the Ihram be from? From inside Makkah. From inside Makkah, as we said, there are a few exceptional circumstantial cases, but the Ihram should be from inside Makkah. And even if you recall, we said that even if somebody is leaving and he's afraid that he might not be able to come back to Makkah, let him enter the state of Ihram and leave Makkah. If you recall those rulings, you can go back to our clips, which we mentioned this. If you want to go through them, then you have to enter the state of Ihram, then leave Jeddah to get your suitcase, and you might not come back on time. You might not have time to enter Makkah. You go direct to Arafat because you already entered the state of Ihram. From where? From inside Makkah before leaving Makkah for your purpose or for your necessities. Yes, so that is Ihram of Hajj al-Tamattu. It has to be from inside Makkah. أما الإحرام في حج الإفراد فيختلف الحال فيها بالنسبة إلى أهل مكة وغيرهم كما سيأتي في فصل المواقيت. And as for Hajj al-Ifrad, where will they enter the state of Ihram? Those who are going to perform Hajj al-Ifrad. Is it inside Makkah or outside Makkah? He said it differs from people living in Makkah and people living out of Makkah, around the vicinities, 88 kilometers, if you recall. But what should we do here? I mean, what is the ruling of people living inside Makkah? Where should they enter the state of Ihram? And what is the ruling of those who are living in the vicinity of 88 kilometers in between Makkah and the border of 88 kilometers? Where should they? He said these details we are going to mention whenever we are going to discuss the miqat, the rules of miqat. The fifth difference between Hajj al-Tamattu and Hajj al-Ifrad, يجب تقديم عمرة التمتع على حجه. عمرة التمتع should precede Hajj al-Tamattu. A, B, sequence. Okay? But in Hajj al-Ifrad, no, it's not necessary. There's no connection. You can do this year Umrah al-Mufrada, and next year you can do Hajj al-Ifrad. You can do Hajj al-Ifrad. After that, if you are capable of doing Umrah al-Mufrada, you do Umrah Mufrada. So that kind of two being together okay, and Umrah being before is not required in Hajj al-Ifrad. Okay, لا يجوز بعد إحرام حج التمتع الطواف المندوب على الأحوط وجوبا. It is not permissible that after entering the state of Ihram, remember this, many people, many of our beloved ones, they get confused in this number 6. لا يجوز بعد إحرام حج التمتع. Once you enter the Ihram of Hajj التمتع, okay, you're in Makkah, you're doing tawaf and you're doing tawafat, and mustahab to do a lots of tawaf while you're in Makkah, in the morning tawaf, in the dhuhr tawaf, after Salat al-Dhuhr tawaf, before Maghrib tawaf, after Salat al-Maghrib tawaf. In the whole world, Salat is highly recommended act. In Makkah, tawaf precedes the Salat. So if you want to do mustahab Salat, or you are desiring to do tawaf, do tawaf. You'll get more reward in tawaf than offering mustahab Salat. If you can do both, nurun ala nur, icing on the cake. But if you cannot, you have to choose. Either would I do nawafil, either would do tawaf, do tawaf. Tawaf is more recommendation inside the haram over the salat. But other than that, anywhere in the world, salat is the best worship, because it bonds you with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator and the creation having communication. So that's why he says that لا يجوز بعد إحرام حج. Okay, so you were in Makkah on the 8th of Dhul Hajj or 9th of Dhul Hajj. You entered the state of Ihram of Hajj and then to proceed to Arafat. He said, after entering the state of Ihram, don't do any tawaf. Before you do as much, it's mustahab. But after saying labbaik Allahumma labbaik for Hajj, you are in Makkah, it's mustahab to enter the state of Ihram for Hajj inside Masjid al-Haram and from Hijr Ismail. However, a person said labbaik Allahumma labbaik khalas. Oh, the caravan still, they are going to leave after 2 hours. Let me do one tawaf. No, don't do that. So he says, La yajuzu ba'd. It is not permissible after entering the state of Ihram. بعد إحرام حج التمتع الطواف المندوب على الأحوط وجوبا. On the basis of obligatory precaution, it is not permissible to perform any recommended tawaf after entering the state of Ihram of Hajj al-Tamattu. But what about Hajj al-Ifrad? Hajj al-Ifrad, okay. Hajj al-Ifrad, you did labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Now you enter the state of Ihram, you can do tawaf mustahab. Okay, so we have 2 rulings left. Let's see. Hajj al-Ifrad. Ruling number 159. إذا أحرم الإفراد إذا أحرم لحج الإفراد ندبا جاز له أن يعدل إلى عمرة التمتع فيقصر ويحل إلا فيما إذا لبى بعد السعي فليس له العدول حينئذ إلى التمتع. This ruling we'll keep it for our next session inshallah, because it has quite details, and we are already over our time. So hope this was clear. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله